Here in Australia, there's pretty high awareness of drowning risks to children, education campaigns, legislation to ensure that our swimming pools are fenced, and a focus on learn to swim classes. In Asia, though, it is a different story. Only 50 children drowned in Australia last year. In Asia, that figure runs to the hundreds of thousands. Few Asian children have access to swimming lessons, and Asian kids are drowning in all sorts of kinds of bodies of water too, from rivers, lakes and ponds to wells. It's even suggested cooking pots have proved to be fatal. Well, a new aid project has the ambitious aim of preventing child drownings in our region. Australia's Royal Lifesaving, backed by the government's foreign aid organisation AusAid, will establish the world's first international drowning research centre to be based in Bangladesh. To tell us more, Justin Scarr, the Royal Lifesaving's Chief Operating Officer, joins us. Justin, welcome to Breakfast.
Good morning, Fran.
Justin, these are staggering figures for the number of child drownings in Asia. Just give us a sense of it, perhaps a few key countries or a global figure for the region.
Yeah, certainly those figures are absolutely frightening, and we were staggered when we heard them. We're talking about 17,000 children in Bangladesh alone, with the peak drowning age being between the ages of about 1 and 3. 50%, in fact, are under the age of 5. If you look at further afield, there's large-scale drowning across Vietnam. China is a very big worry, and we have research from other countries, including the Philippines and Indonesia.
So why are they dying between 1 and 3? Why are toddlers drowning in such high numbers?
The issue with children, very, very young children, is largely the issue of supervision and exposure. In Asia, particularly rural Asia, water is literally everywhere. In the compounds, in the households, there's wells. There are also large water troughs to feed livestock. And of course, predominantly they're agricultural subsistence farmers. So we have rice farming, we have fish ponds in very close proximity to the house. Often the parents have multiple children and they're very, very busy just surviving. So supervision often rests with other children, and that's totally unacceptable. But we're working very successfully on a little program that's a creche program, actually, something as simple as setting up a preschool in a rural village. Not only does it give a villager a job and a family, an income, child and education, but we find that it's protecting those children through those busy morning hours.
And that pilot program, that's in Bangladesh, is it?
That's right, it's in Bangladesh, and through establishing the International Research Centre with the help of the Australian government, which we're very proud to say has come behind us on this particular issue, we'll be further researching other strategies such as barriers to hazards, community awareness and education, and of course teaching resuscitation.
And that notion of a preschool or a creche for preschool-aged children, how readily accepted is that in villages and in these developing countries? There's not a lot of money around. Childcare would appear to be a luxury, you would think.
Yeah, certainly it's changing the dynamic of village life in the communities that we're working in. It's a fantastic program. You can see very, very clearly what happens is one of the villagers nominates their household. One of the women who previously would be unemployed and deeply bound by poverty gets a job and turns into what we would see as a childcare worker. They have an offsider. The women in the community predominantly bring the young children to the creche very early in the morning, and they get very, very basic early childhood education. They get fed. It's also a fantastic venue for the other community awareness and health programs that many aid agencies are trying to get to children in those communities.
Sure, you can imagine it could revolutionise some elements of village life, but who would pay for it in the long term?
Look, in the long term, a country like Bangladesh is probably dependent on aid, but what we're finding is if we can free people up to do other things, perhaps to expand their farming, the dynamics of the market in and around their village, that there may in fact be a way that the local villagers can contribute to this. And that's one of the things that we're doing with the International Research Centre in Bangladesh, is trying to test ways to scale this particular program up and get it towards sustainability that's required for it to make a lasting impact.
And Justin, that's toddlers. What about older kids who are drowning in great numbers too? Is it a fact that a lot of children in Asian countries aren't learning to swim at an early age? Can't swim?
Yeah, that's right. There's no formal program across much of Asia in terms of swim and survive. The programs that we're very familiar with in Australia, whether that be through the education system, the local aquatic centre or vacation programs, what we're finding is that we're able to establish at a village level a system very similar to our own of instructors, of children linked to schools, learning swim and survive through the Swim Safe program. It's quite a fascinating program. Of course, there's no swimming pools and there's certainly no Olympic pools in many of these villages. villages.
Which raises the question, how do you learn to swim?
Yeah, what we're doing is, I guess Australians would best view it as perhaps the dam or the pond on a rural property, but using bamboo and local construction methods, we've found that we're able to establish swimming platforms or enclosures, and we're teaching children in those environments. It's actually, if you think about it, very, very similar to many of the original swimming pools that we find across our bays and beaches from the early late 1800s.
And again, is that a program, a Learn to Swim program that's being trialled in Bangladesh?
Yeah, well, it's been trialled quite successfully. We've reached 40,000 children already. We've also piloted this program in Thailand with the support of the Australia Thai Institute, and over the Vietnamese summer, in fact, we reached 6,000 children in 3 months. So it's a fantastic program, and the Australian government support will help us quite considerably to increase the scale, but also spread the message to other governments and other communities, other international development agencies such as UNICEF and the like. It really is such a big problem, and it's going to take a big collaborative effort to address it.
And there is another element of life in many of the countries in our region that it's hard to guard against, that creches and even swimming lessons might not help with, and that's the severe flooding and storm surges that occur regularly. How many drownings of children occur in these kind of natural disasters?
Well, look, surprisingly, the research says that around about 10% of all drownings happen during those severe weather events. So, in fact, drowning is happening in everyday life. It's happening, if you think about it, much in the same way that we're faced with child drowning in Australia. Children slipping away into waterways unsupervised, but certainly those disaster events have a wider impact on the community. And that's why, while in Bangladesh, particularly, what we're doing is we're trialling how to establish sort of survival swimming, personal rescue, resuscitation programs, so that we can arm the population with some skills that might help them respond in those emergency situations.
All right, Justin, sounds like a great program. Thank you very much. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
That's Justin Scarr from the Australian Royal Lifesavers.